The last day of war. 80 years ago, on May the 8th, World War II ended. Germany capitulated. The Allied forces had won. The role of the Catholic Church during the terrible years of Nazi reign has remained a topic of debate until this day. Directly after the war, the Catholic Church condemned the atrocities committed by the German aggressors, but also mentioned war crimes of the Allied forces. At first, the Catholic Church was praised for helping many Jews escape the genocide inflicted by Hitler, and mourned its own clergy and lay members slaughtered in the concentration camps, such as Saint Maximilian Kolbe or Franz Jägerstätter. The people still remembered the thunderous words of Bishop von Galen, the Lion of Münster, as he was called. He led protests against the euthanasia program of the Nazi regime, denounced the Gestapo, the dangerous secret police, and stood up against the persecution of the Church. Only later, scholars started to question if the Church was really a victim. Many baptized Catholics were a part of the Nazi regime. Why were they not excommunicated? What did Pope Pius XII really know about the Holocaust? And why did he not speak up?
He was criticized of being too prudent, but he explains that his prudence was precisely aimed at saving, those that were most vulnerable. Because we know now the psychology that was going of those in charge of Germany back then, and we know that they would have been, summary shootings, disappearances. People would have been shot in the street, just as a retaliation for what the Pope said.
So what you're saying is there were actually also many Jews saved by the Church.
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely, yes. The mischaracterization of the role of Pius XII. If you want probably a more accurate reading of who he was, well, perhaps we should look at all the elegies or the words of condolences that were offered by notable individuals at the moment of his death, right? Of the Prime Minister Golda Meir, who really made an eloquent act of appreciation of all his interventions during the Second World War, and many others. I mean, you also have the chief rabbi of Jerusalem.
Father Maxim Baz is a Lebanese priest who works for the Order of the Holy Sepulchre in Rome. He wrote his dissertation at the Pontifical University of St. Thomas Aquinas, Angelicum, focusing on the attitudes of modern popes towards war. Pope Pius XII, who led the Church through World War II after serving for many years as nuncio in Germany, was of a special interest to him.
So he knew, let's say, in a very capillary way, and he had a very granular image of the growth, of the National Socialist Party. We have actually lots of proof of many diplomatic notes that he wrote in protest for the increasing power grab of this party back then. And so very early on, he was aware of what was happening.
There's a particular place in the shadow of St. Peter's Basilica, which has a long Germanic tradition. During World War II, the Teutonic graveyard became a hotbed for church diplomacy and an eventual saving grace for thousands. Monsignor Stefan Heid is a well-known German historian who works and lives in the Camposanto Teutonico.
Pope
Pius XII. This is a really controversial matter. His silence has been regularly brought up, and it is objectively true that in his public statements he did not mention the systematic mass extermination of the Jews. We also know about his reasons. He did not want to risk the lives of the Jews even more by making such an open statement. Therefore, it will always remain an open question, whether what he did was too little, and it can undoubtedly be seen that way today. It was an absolutely unique situation that no one had ever faced before.
Absolut einmalige Situation, vor der bisher nie jemand stand.
Pius XII also plays a role in a now famous story that took place inside the Vatican. An Irish priest who lived at Camposanto Teutonico, the German graveyard, saved thousands of Jewish refugees fleeing the Nazi concentration camps and certain death. Monsignor O'Flaherty's inspiring testimony was enacted by Hollywood star Gregory Peck in the movie The Scarlet and the Black.
Aber was das Humanitäre betraf,
But when it came to humanitarian matters, the protection of Jews, the escaped prisoners of war, and those politically at risk, everyone was clearly on O'Flaherty's side. He built a large network in the city of Rome. From his room here at the Camposanto Teutonico, he organized everything.
So the German graveyard in the Vatican did not turn into the last repose for the refugees of the Nazi regime, but marked a new start for their lives?
Yes, that is actually correct.
Do we know if Pope Pius XII was informed of Monsignor O'Flaherty's help?
It can certainly be assumed, even if there were not a single document about it, the Church's internal structure is strictly hierarchical, meaning the Pope was aware of every moment.
Monsignor O'Flaherty's story is far from unique. Many churches and parishes around Rome are known to have offered safe haven for those fleeing the Nazi regime.
He did, however, do an enormous amount. I don't know if any other pope would have done as much, because there are indeed popes in history who were fearful, and Pius was not one of them. He even received the resistance fighters in the Apostolic Palace. Which pope would do that today?
Welcher Papst würde das heute noch machen?